To create a rows plot using Vantage, there are two different ways to get into the Vantage module. One way would be to, from within Arena, just to select New Plot, and that will open up Vantage. Or you can do the same thing from Surpass mode and just click in the Vantage mode to move into the Vantage module within Imaris. And then what we're going to do is select Objects View. This is already selected in mine, but you will need to use the Objects View option for the plotting. This won't work in the 1D, 2D, time, or spatial view option, so make sure you're in Object View. And then we'll move through the Vantage Creation Wizard. To create a traditional rows plot, you'll need to do a scatter plot. And if you just want to change the X and the Y dimensions, if you have a 2D data set, you can select this very first scatter plot in the drop-down menu. And this will allow you to change the plot values for the X and the Y dimensions. If you have a three-dimensional data set and you want to do a scatter plot and adjust the Z dimensions, you can do that. Just select a different one of the scatter plots that allows you to be able to adjust the Z dimension. But we'll go back here. This is a 2D data set, so I just want to adjust the X and the Y dimensions. The specific statistic I want to use is not a track type statistic, it's actually a spot type statistic. So I need to change my category to this first button here so I get a spot statistic. And the most commonly created rows plots use displacement statistics. So I'm going to go down here and select that I want to use the displacement delta X for my X dimension, and then the displacement delta Y for my Y dimension. And then what I want to do here is then adjust to the last time point. Here's what I want to use to view how these structures are moving through time. Because if I'm at my first time point, you can see that this isn't really the plot that I'm interested in. I really do want that last time point to showcase the final displacement and rows plot for all of my spots objects. I'll then move through the creation wizard here, and this is then what I have created. There are a bunch of different settings that you can adjust once the plot has been created, and so those are underneath these different options. So the first one is that I can, in the setting tab here with the little spots icon, and this would be true if you had surface objects instead of spots objects, but I can have my spots objects themselves appear differently. So you can have the regular sphere shape for your spots objects. You can put it as a center point, or you can have the spots objects themselves turned off. It's up to you how you want that to look. You can change the size of them also. It's up to you for what you want those actual objects themselves to look like. And then the track display options here. So there are three different options. You could have the tracks themselves turned off, which is not the point of this rows plot, so you'll definitely want them to be on. Dragon tails display just a shortened length of the actual track. So in this example here, it's just showing the last 6.6 seconds from the entire time series, which is 44 seconds. So if I want to do the full display, that's what this option would be here, is doing the full track display instead. And that'll show how these time points move throughout the entire time series. But with the full track display on, you can see that it does not change the appearance, but the spots objects themselves are moving over time. And then the track display option can be changed by adjusting how thick or thin the line is for the display itself. And so this would be the rows plot of using the displacement delta Y and displacement delta X, but then showing where the spots end up on the last time point with the full display. You can also change what like if you wanted to use different X and Y dimensions here, you can do that, or you can turn off the frame settings here for like having the actual box. And then you can change like how like the tick marks are, or the grid itself is being placed. You can adjust those kind of settings. And then lastly, you can down here in the color tab, you can change the color of the spots objects itself. You can't change the color of the track display. So right here, it's all red. So if this is like what you want your final image to look like, you would then just select snapshot here. You can take a snapshot and it'll save your data set, you know, exactly where you want it to be saved, but it looks like exactly what it looks like in Vantage. So this was an option going from within Arena to create this rose plot as it looks like here. There is another option instead of using the new plot option here in Vantage, but to actually open up your data set within Surpass and then select the Vantage option. And this will actually create a Vantage plot that doesn't have the same color for all of the tracks objects. So this one is a different way of creating something similar, but just so that the track display actually has a heat map according to time. So for this option, we're still going to move through the creation wizard, and the settings will be the same actually, but you'll see what I mean by how the color changes. So we'll go to the spots object category for our statistics, and then we need to use those same stats that we did before, the displacement delta X and displacement delta Y. And then once again, like we have this created, but you can see that the tracks themselves have some color variability, and the color is actually associated with the different time points. And so if I do the full track display, you can see here that there's a rainbow heat map as it moves through time. That's actually showing here in the rows plot. And so I can make the plot look exactly the same as what it did in my last snapshot, but it's going to create a different actual appearance of the tracks themselves. So those are the two different ways to create these rose heat maps, but with just a different color of the actual tracks displays. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.